Straight ahead on IU NewsNet, years of planning led Bloomington officials to believe 300,000 people were coming to town to view the eclipse. But streets were seemingly empty. We have the story.
And Bloomington's first ever female mayor gives her State of the City address. We'll show you how she addressed rising tensions and issues throughout the city.
And a little 500 team that rose from the ashes. We'll show you how they plan to prove their doubters wrong and bring home the trophy next week. IU NewsNet starts now. Welcome to IU NewsNet. I'm Julia Pearl.
And I'm Zeke Shapiro. What a way to start the week. Did you see it? The solar eclipse made its way directly over Bloomington on Monday as the shadow made its way across North America.
It was pretty cool, but I found myself wondering where all the people and the gridlock was that we were told to expect. IU NewsNet's Audrey Marr joins us in studio to get our coverage started. Audrey?
Thanks, guys. IUPD and IU officials planned for well over a year for the big event. Bloomington was right in the middle of the path of totality for the eclipse. Hotel rooms were booked, but the expected traffic jams never happened. Not that people were complaining. Everyone was too busy looking up.
4, 3, 2, 1.
I think it's just really cool that we get to all experience this because it's once in a lifetime opportunity.
But this once in a lifetime opportunity didn't see as many people in Bloomington as IU anticipated. Not even close. IU officials had estimated around 300,000 people to travel to Bloomington for the eclipse and planned for well over a year for every contingency from lodging to safety.
As we got more into it and we just started hearing more about people that were coming and what to get ready for and things like that, those numbers kind of kept growing and growing. And I was always a little nervous and apprehensive about that. But again, tens of thousands of people did come and it was fantastic.
But it was clear from a lack of gridlock to empty seats that not nearly as many people as expected made it to town.
I would say overall it was less, just based upon the hype that's been built up over the last few months. It was less than I thought.
Memorial Stadium, home to the Hoosier Cosmic Celebration, wasn't even a fifth filled for the event. But Star Trek's William Shatner, America's first black female astronaut Mae Jemison, and singer Janelle Monáe put on quite a show.
I'm surprised it's not so cool. I am so glad because I did not want to be waiting long lines or anything.
I also just think that people wanted to be together on the day of the eclipse as well, rather than going and hearing some speakers or whatnot.
An IU spokesperson tells IU NewsNet that the Cosmic Celebration pulled in 10,000 people and called the day a great success. But the biggest star on Monday was the one in the shadow, the sun block. And anywhere in Bloomington was the best seat in town.
I'm really grateful that I've been able to be in Bloomington and see the eclipse in its totality. I remember in 7th grade we got to see it, but it wasn't in the actual path, so this was a very cool experience.
We tried to get a solid number on the visitor count, but kept getting passed around as they're still totaling up the numbers. All we could get was a statement from IU Media Relations that tens of thousands of visitors, not hundreds of thousands, flocked to the 7 IU campuses across the state. Where did you guys watch the eclipse?
Well, I was over on Kirkwood. I got a great view. Everyone was looking up.
I just took a little walk around my neighborhood. It was really cute to see everyone out. But thanks for letting us know about that story.
Thank you.
Since Bloomington was told to prepare for up to 300,000 visitors, many non-essential businesses chose to close up completely on the day of the eclipse. This included stores for clothing, childcare, pets, and more, all in an attempt to reduce traffic and the possibility of an emergency. To the surprise of many business owners, it was not nearly as crowded as the city expected. Even though these businesses ultimately lost profit and customers for the day and the crowds never materialized, they say it's important to respond to city advisories.
The city hasn't given us a whole lot of advisories in the past. They gave advisories during COVID, they'll give advisories during blizzards. So when they give an advisory, we take it really seriously because it's very rare that they give us any type of advice.
Bloomington business have been back up and running since the eclipse totality with no reason to remain closed for longer.
Bloomington may not have been as busy as everyone anticipated, but Kirkwood Avenue was much rowdier than usual, especially for a Monday. Our Caroline Geib has the story.
You may have heard of $2 Tuesday, but have you heard of Solar Eclipse Monday? This past Monday, Bloomington bars decided to capitalize off the cancellation of in-person classes at IU.
Working 11 hours today, and I don't feel great about it, but it is what it is.
Bars such as Kilroy's on Kirkwood and Upstairs Pub opened bright and early at 9 a.m. The first to arrive at either location were greeted with a free limited edition t-shirt to commemorate a day full of eclipse viewing and drinking. Kilroy's on Kirkwood also gave free breakfast to the first people to arrive.
I think IU turned it into like a fun drinking day, especially at the bars with doing the breakfast club, but I also thought it was a really cool experience.
Kilroy's is known for their breakfast club, which usually only occurs for special events such as Hoosier football games and Little 500 qualifications. Grab your eclipse glasses, your water long, and come watch the eclipse from our patio, the bar wrote in an Instagram post.
I mean, I think it's a pretty cool event. Might be blown out of proportion a little bit, but like overall, I think it's a really cool thing, and I'm glad people are like out participating.
Meanwhile, the Upstairs Pub serves specialty drinks such as the Lunar Shooter at their From Dawn Till Dusk viewing party. For IU NewsNet, I'm Caroline Guide.
If you missed out on the eclipse festivities, don't worry. I'm sure there will be just as many during the next total eclipse visible from the U.S. in only 20 years.
IUPD arrested one person and detained other protesters during a pro-Palestinian demonstration on Monday during eclipse events. The arrested individual, Tom Sweeney, is a former Wells Scholar and current senior research specialist at Princeton. Sweeney and the group began the protest at the Cox Arboretum, and per the IU Office of Student Life rules, demonstrations are not allowed at the Arboretum as it is designed as a reflective space. The group then moved to Dunn Meadow, where Sweeney was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct, a misdemeanor with a maximum penalty of 180 days in jail. According to Sweeney, he can get the charges dropped through pretrial diversion.
A Bloomington City Council meeting regarding a ceasefire in Gaza quickly evolved into chaos last week as white supremacists interrupted the debate. At the meeting, Bloomington residents and IU students and staff shared their thoughts on whether the council should vote in favor of a ceasefire in Gaza. While the discussions were heated, the meeting was going smoothly. That was until several speakers began to discuss a different subject. On 3 occasions, 2 speakers on Zoom and 1 in person began sharing white supremacist rhetoric before being cut off and removed from the meeting. Despite the outbursts, the meeting carried on, and the council unanimously passed the resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, though the mayor has yet to sign it.
Despite that ceasefire resolution, a small group made some noise about peace in Gaza outside the first State of the City speech for Bloomington's first female mayor. But that was not her focus. Local housing was. Now, 100 days into office, Kerry Thomson says Bloomington needs more affordable housing for everyone, as well as solutions for the growing homeless population. She touched on the environment as well as Bloomington's business climate. She says the city plans to launch a task force to hold housing builders, developers, and owners accountable for promises they have made around affordability.
We can build a better Bloomington, a Bloomington that is safe. We can build a Bloomington that has housing for all.
And Mayor Thomson says it all starts with safety, from bringing high-speed internet to all corners of the city to rebuilding fire stations 1 and 3. She says this decade will be about Bloomington's renewal. When we come back, we'll tell you why both faculty and grad students say they have lost confidence in IU administration, and about an action they plan to take next week.
Plus, as the old saying goes, you can get to a person's heart through their stomach. We'll tell you about a campus organization that's providing some support for sick students through soup. Stay with us.
Well, to put it lightly, tensions have been high on campus this year.
But it's not just students who say they're frustrated with IU administration. Next Tuesday, the 16th, IU faculty will consider a vote of no confidence in top members of the IU administration. The people named in the vote include President Pamela Whitten, Provost Raul Shrivastava, and Vice Provost for Faculty and Academic Affairs, Carrie Doherty. The petition calling for the vote named many controversial university decisions, specifically saying administration is, quote, encroaching on both academic freedom and shared governance by, among other things, sanctioning faculty and by canceling art exhibits at the Ashkenazi Museum. 800 faculty members must be present at the meeting for an in-person vote to be ratified. The Indiana Graduate Workers Coalition is planning a 3-day strike next week known as 3 Days for a Raise. Union members and more than 50 department organizers endorsed a strike plan through an online vote. After trying to engage with administrators with no response, the strike is planned for April 17th through April 19th. The goal is to gain a wage increase for graduate students. Last year, a similar strike resulted in the elimination of all student fees for graduate workers and an increase in the minimum yearly wages.
The Faculty Board of Review recently found that an IU administrator failed to follow policy in suspending a tenured professor last semester. The board said Vice Provost of Academic Affairs Kerry Thomson suspended Professor Abdul Qadir Sinno without allowing his case to go before a faculty review committee. Sinno was accused of hosting a pro-Palestine speaker without getting proper permission for the room. Now Provost Raul Shrivastov will continue to either accept or reject the faculty board's recommendation. This will lead the case to either another hearing or a written response of why he chose not to accept.
It was 6 months ago that the terrorist group Hamas pulled off a surprise and deadly attack in Israel, starting a war in the Middle East that resonates right here in Bloomington. This week, the Hillel Center held their yearly Israel Palooza celebration just after the 6-month anniversary. On a gray and rainy day in Bloomington, the pro-Israel community is trying their best to put the past behind them. Every year, the Indiana University Hillel and Chabad communities come together for what they call the Israel Palooza. However, this year, the events of October 7th made this year's celebration different than the previous ones.
It is extremely important to have Israel Palooza right now. Our students on our Jewish students on campus have been marginalized, and it's really important at this time, more so than ever, to educate the campus community about Israel.
With activities like homemade jewelry making and authentic Israeli food, there was much to do at the annual celebration. However, the shadow of what happened 6 months ago still showed during the event. With rising anti-Semitism on campus and across the country, events like these serve as an important community gathering to celebrate the pro-Israel and Jewish communities.
This event is supposed to spread joy and community and love, and we're not trying to hold a hostile event or separate people. The purpose of Israel Palooza is to show our love and educate about Israel.
Although the event was moved from Dunn Meadow and no anti-Israel protesters were present, the organizers were still taking no chances, and there was a police presence at the event. Even with the attacks still resonating among the pro-Israel community, one thing that they haven't lost is the idea of togetherness and community. The Hillel Center explained that following the events of October 7th, they've welcomed record numbers of new members and larger Shabbat services than ever before.
President Biden announced a plan that would cancel 30 million Americans' student debt. Biden's original debt plan was blocked by the Supreme Court last year. The plan would cancel up to $20,000 of unpaid interest on federal student loans. It would also cancel debt for people a part of programs like the SAVE plan or the Public Service Loan Forgiveness. Your student debt could also be canceled if you default on the loan or have trouble paying back the loan.
Fourth, we plan to cancel debt for borrowers who the Department of Education determines were cheated by universities that left students in unaffordable loans and delivered little in benefits to students.
The plan would also eliminate debt for people who are still paying loans from over 20 years ago. For more information on loan forgiveness, go to studentaid.gov.
The IU Interfraternity Council is launching a new hazing prevention program called Hoosiers, Not Hazers. It will provide educational resources to fraternity chapters in Greek life. The program's mission provides new members with 90-minute informational sessions during the fall. After a group presentation, members learn about what hazing is, how and where to look for it, and ways to address it. The IFC Judicial Board created the program in hopes of following IU's Panhellenic Council, which established Safe Sisters. That program informs sorority members about sexual assault support, rape culture, hookup culture, and bystander prevention.
And I think that those more preventative measures need to be happening internally for us to really see a change, because it is unfortunate that it's something that still occurs. It's something that is used for stories, rumors, and humor, which is the hardest part about it.
If you or someone you know has experienced hazing, report it, and in an emergency, call 911.
An exciting and bright new addition is coming to Indiana University through the Media School. An installation of kinetic imagery and extended reality lab will take place in the next few years, per an IU press release. This lab will be a collaboration between 7 schools within the university, helping to promote more partnership across campus.
So multidisciplinary, so there's going to be people from Luddy and from optometry, and it's a great opportunity for our students to connect with other students and faculty and grad students.
The on-campus location of the KIX lab is yet to be determined, but IU is already looking to hire a project director. We pivot now to a story about some comfort food.
When your immune system starts to break down, the best medicine can be some homemade soup. Grace Morocco joins us with the story of a very special delivery. Grace?
Thanks, guys. Maybe it's stress, maybe it's allergies, a cold, or even bronchitis. Well, whatever it is, IU Hillel Center has a tasty remedy. The center offers free bowls of soup through their website's hotline.
There's a long list of ways to treat a cold. But at the Hillel Center, it's not medication that's making students feel better.
The myth somehow arose, and maybe it's not a myth, maybe there's some truth to it, that matzo ball soup will help you feel better when you're sick.
For nearly 3 decades, the Jewish Student Center has brought hot, homemade bowls of matzo ball soup to Indiana University students who are feeling under the weather. It's a tradition that started long ago.
Having matzo ball soup is something that many of us, our grandmothers made for us, their grandmothers made for them. It's just something that's a very strong tradition.
The center's rabbi, Sue Silberberg, remembers making it for her own sons.
It's something that when my kids were little, if they were sick, I'd make matzo ball soup.
David Avila started working at the Hillel Center last fall. He says he's already made the soup several times.
Soup is always a part of the menu. We make the soup at least every Friday, 2 of the regular, and we make a vegan and vegetarian soup.
The process is simple: vegetables, chicken, and of course, matzo balls.
I'll see people years after they graduate, and they'll say something about the matzo ball soup hotline.
Members from Hillel take the soup from the center into your home. Enjoy!
What better way to be the Jewish home away from home than to bring that important piece of home to campus.
For IU NewsNet, I'm Grace Morocco.
The soup hotline is open to all IU students. To order, all you have to do is visit their website at iuhillel.org. Zeke and Julia, back to you guys.
Thanks, Grace.
I've never had matzo ball soup. Have you?
Well, I'll be honest, I've used that service even when I'm not sick. Still to come, MacKenzie Holmes makes an announcement on social media that could affect her draft status.
And Caitlin Clark plays her final college game, but she may be house hunting soon right here in Indiana. IU NewsNet Sports coming up next. Welcome back. Basketball season is in the rearview mirror, but there's news about MacKenzie Holmes and Caitlin Clark.
WNBA draft has real implications for us here in Indiana. Austin Platt joins us with sports. Austin?
March Madness may be in the rearview mirror, but Caitlin Clark, who has played her final college game, may soon have an Indiana address. The Indiana Fever have the first overall draft pick. While there is no denying the mark Caitlin Clark left on the sport during her time with the Iowa Hawkeyes, the excitement for her future in the WNBA is escalating.
I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport. She carried a heavy load for our sport, and it just is not going to stop here on the collegiate tour, but when she is the #1 pick in the WNBA draft, she's gonna lift that league up as well.
Indiana fans have turned their attention to Clark as she is expected to join Grace Berger and Aaliyah Boston on the Indiana Fever following the draft. While Clark is expected to go first overall, MacKenzie Holmes may not be getting drafted as high as we thought. IU's all-time leading scorer announced that she is undergoing surgery on her left knee, which has been bothering her since 9th grade. Holmes wrote in her social media post that she hopes a team still drafts her, even though she'll have to miss the entirety of the 2024 WNBA season. Tennessee women's basketball has found their new head coach in Kim Caldwell, but not without a familiar face in the conversation. Indiana's Terry Morin was in the mix as a contender for the Vols. Hoosier fans were happy to hear the reports from Mitchell Northam that Morin rejected contact from the Volunteers about the vacant position. This gives Indiana fans an even more promising look into the future with their fearless leader back at the helm for an 11th season. While Terry Morin and squad did not make a Final Four appearance, there were still some Hoosiers involved in the festivities. Sarah Scalia made her mark by winning the State Farm Collegiate three-point championship. Following the victory, MacKenzie Holmes joined her in Cleveland to face off in the Women's College All-Star Game. Basketball wasn't the only showcase talent, though, as Ariel Wisney performed the national anthem before the Final Four matchup. All three players left their mark in college basketball before making their final exit this year. Basketball's Final Four is in the past, but Little 500 teams soon have to decide on their Final Four riders. Our Kara Adams joins us here in the studio to highlight a team in particular not getting enough attention. Kara?
Thanks, Austin. The definition of novice means new and fresh, and that's the outlook of a team that is rising fast and making their mark on Little 5 this year.
Riders, ready, set.
Novice Cycling, a Little 500 women's team that didn't even exist until last year.
Are you with me? Are you with me?
And the reason for this team? Dorothy Curran Nunez.
So sophomore year, I was like, I know I want to do Little 5, like I have to, and I want to be on a team. So I did everything like fall semester unaffiliated and didn't have a team for that.
But the previous team captain of the novice men's team noticed her.
Tommy Domion reached out to me and he was like, oh, you're really good, and I see that you're unaffiliated, like how would you feel about starting a women's team? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool, I'm in.
Dorothy then persuaded her roommate to join, found someone through the involvement fair, and another friend of a roommate.
Don't announce when you're attacking, goofball. The 4 ragtag bunch of gals, like we completed our rookie requirements and raced last year.
And those ragtag girls finished 13th overall last year. Their goal was to give it their best effort and to just race. But this year,
placement goal, it would be really nice to be top 10. We really just want to go out there and give it our best effort and kind of make a name for ourselves as a team that, you know, has some fight.
And after a 3rd place finish at qualifications, they're making their name known from nobodies to novice.
Seeing like all of our hard work starting to pay off, and now that, you know, we're kind of getting recognized as like the dark horse.
For Dorothy and her team, the dark horse is just a title. The experience of riding in the Little 500 is more rewarding than where they finish.
As long as we're all putting in the most we can and putting our best effort into it, I'm more than proud.
Novice will pedal into the 36th Women's Little 500 next Friday. Austin, now back to you.
Thanks, Kara. From the biking track to 2 teams that got back on track. Both Indiana baseball and softball earned road wins last weekend. The softball team swept Michigan State, and Sarah Stone earned Big Ten Player of the Week after tallying 6 hits, including 2 home runs in Friday's 6-2 win. IU baseball became the first team in nearly 4 years to win a series at Maryland. The Hoosiers nearly came away with the sweep, but dropped the last game after scoring 29 runs in the first 2 games. Both teams are back at home this weekend. The transfer portal has been open, and many players and even coaches are finding new homes. Let's catch you up. Former Hoosier and Indianapolis native C.J. Gunn transferred to DePaul. On the coaching side, Indiana State head coach Josh Schertz left for St. Louis after leading the Sycamores to the NIT championship game. A lot of the ISU players entered the transfer portal as a result. Longtime Stanford women's head coach and IU alum Tara Vanderveer retired, and Kentucky coach John Calipari shockingly left for Arkansas this week. Both schools are scheduled to visit Assembly Hall in the coming years, but will have new head coaches. That's all for sports this week. We are just 8 days away from the world's greatest college weekend. Julia and Zeke, I hope you're excited as I am. Back to you at the desk.
That's it for IU NewsNet for now. We have a behind-the-scenes student production team in the control room and working in the studio for this broadcast. We thank them and we thank you for watching. I'm Zeke Shapiro.
And I'm Julia Pearl. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at IU NewsNet. Take care, and we will see you next week.